our acts. The sea can be deep for our diving. Hope comes and stops us in our tracks. Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Raw Recovery, a Trudging Together podcast. My name is Dion Miller, and I'm your host. It has been a long time since I have done a podcast, and gosh, do I miss it. You guys are going to be seeing a lot more podcasts coming up. We're getting back into the Slinging Out 2 week now and start to get this going. I thought I would start big. Although she's not going to think so. But ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome to the show today Jamie Tall. Jamie, welcome to Trudging Together.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. So, Jamie is one of the people that I've been watching on Facebook for a little while. I got caught up in her now husband in his crazy antics. I like the way he presents stuff. It's hilarious. He's a hilarious guy, but you gotta have a sense of humor. All right. But what I love how he uses his humor to bring in his point. He's very good at that. And then you guys just recently got married. Congratulations on the prenups.
Thank you.
Yeah, not even a month yet. You guys are still really, really new.
Yeah, October 10th we got married. So
wow. And now you guys are doing some videos. I've noticed that you're kind of doing videos teaching other people how to be in a relationship.
Yes, relationships and recovery is like a huge topic for us because I feel like it is one of the things that kind of can take people out very quickly when they're in recovery.
Absolutely.
So we definitely like to speak and educate on it. That's actually how Adam and I met, actually. It's a funny story. I had a Facebook post on, and it was kind of like a spiritual post talking about how in early recovery you should really pour into yourself, and you shouldn't date, and you shouldn't sleep with anyone, and you should just use all your energy to like become like the person that you are worth, and the person worth pouring into, and all this. And he comments on this post, this wonderful purity post that I wrote, and put this video about 13th stepping on there.
Yeah.
And I was like, who is this?
Who the fuck are you?
How dare you?
Yeah, he certainly is not afraid to speak his mind. But what I've noticed about it is he doesn't come off offensive. So when he does it, he's not a dick about it. You know, but he's still getting his point across, and that takes a special talent. That's God's gift to him.
Absolutely. And after I watched the video, I realized that actually we were saying the same things, but the way he says it and the way I say it are very different. He uses that humor, and and I guess I'm geared more toward like women. So and that makes sense because when it comes to sexuality and let's just call it 13th stepping for women, I mean, that happens a lot. Whereas, for men, it's a little bit, so men joke it off, whereas women, you deal with it a lot of times. So it's a more serious issue. Absolutely. We have a rule in our group. If you 13th step, you're out, you're done. We don't mess around with that stuff. It's not as serious as it used to be. Thank God. We've really got, now that we're moving into this emotional sobriety, I think a lot of things have changed. So, but I'd really like to talk about Jamie. So you are a certified peer specialist. You live in Athens. And then you were telling me you run a massage therapy. Yes,
and I want to hear about that before we are going to get to your story, but I want to hear about that.
So, okay, my business is called Miracle Massage Group. And
I started it, 2017. I started my business, and there are two things I am very passionate about. I've been studying massage therapy since 2006.
Okay.
And so I'm super passionate about recovery and massage.
Okay.
And I thought, what better thing to do than put these two things together?
I'm loving this.
This protocol called recovery massage. And I became certified with the Georgia Council on Substance Abuse. I'm a certified addiction recovery empowerment specialist.
You guys, that's huge. Georgia is huge. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jamie. That just makes me very freaking excited. You guys, the Georgia recovery, that the society you're talking about is one of the bigger ones in the United States. So, yeah, I just wanted to throw that. Wow, congratulations, great job.
Thank you. That's kind of where this whole thing started. I'm like, I went to Georgia Council and I was like, look, I've got this idea. I can take people and I can use these things that I've studied in massage, which is like essential oils, colors of lights, sound frequency of music, acupressure points, like affirmations, speaking affirmations while you're pressing certain acupressure points in the body. And you can literally take somebody who is, wanting to go out, get high, screw this, I don't want to do this anymore, to in 30 minutes being like, okay, it's not so bad. I'm gonna get up and try again, and I'll give you an example. So say that somebody comes in, they're kind of new in the sober living, still kind of detoxing. They're tired, they're worn out, and they got to go walk around and job search, which is something you have to do when you're in sober living, right?
Yep.
So they come to see me. They got anxiety because they have to go fill out job applications. They're feeling overwhelmed, and I have them come in and say I put on some green lights for creativity. I put on some grapefruit essential oil to give them a little bit of energy and positive, uplifting outlook, and I'm working on them, and I'm doing acupressure points, in the upper back for anxiety.
Wow.
And I'm talking to them and saying, okay, I want you to repeat after me. I am going to be victorious today, and while I'm working on them, and they have this whole thing, and then we have the music on, and it was just mind blowing how literally massage could be considered relapse prevention. And
I never put the two together, but I can see it clear as day now that you're describing it.
Yes. And then I studied even more, and I created a protocol for MAT massage.
Holy crap.
Medication assisted treatment
using
different essential oils. And it helped when we did a case study over 500 hours here. Wow. And we did this case study, and we found that people who were on medication assisted treatment, when they did these treatments, they felt like more calm, less side effects from the medication, the ability to taper up or down to stabilize on whatever, milligram dose that they need to be on. Helps everything to go more smoothly.
Wow.
And it was just incredible. And so I created something at a nonprofit called the Wellness Room. So I was doing massage there for free. It was at a nonprofit called Divas Who Win Freedom Center. So we created this whole wellness room with the whole setup and everything, and I got to work on women on it was 1 day a week for 8 hours, where I got to work on women who were coming out of prostitution, human trafficking, and recovery. And a couple of men, but mostly women.
Yeah.
And it was just incredible, you know, working with them through, you know, they had been through a lot of sex trauma and things like that. So being able to calm them, their, you know, PTSD is huge in that.
That's
area.
what I'm getting ready to ask about. Yeah.
Yes.
Because while you're talking about this, my EMDR is going off in my head. Because you're triggering it by talking about that. You know, and even for a second, my eyes start going back and forth. You know, it's just an automatic. So, yeah, I wanted to ask, how would it work? Because we all know that there's no way we get out of this scot-free. I mean, we tend to think, you know, we get through the steps or whatever recovery road we go down, we finish whatever portion we think, and we think that we've escaped trauma. Think that we've escaped things, and we haven't. You turn around one day, and one day you're just lost at the grocery store because your memory came back. That's what happened to me. Now, are you planning on doing training other people and kind of expanding this program? What are you looking at doing with it?
So
I either want to move to Georgia or I want you to move here.
Yeah, so I actually have started training people at the local massage school here. And so I no longer work for the nonprofit, but the wellness room is still there. And I train all the massage therapists that do work there. And we take them right out of school so they know right from the get how to do this kind of program. And we did try to create it. I tried to create a continuing education with Georgia Council on Substance Abuse for it. And then COVID hit.
Yeah, because, and I was thinking about that. I'm like, you wouldn't be able to do it virtually. That would have to be it has to be hands-on.
Yes.
Stupid COVID.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very proud of you, Jamie, and I don't even know you.
Thank you. Hopefully in the future we will be able to do it, because you can actually do, especially the MAT treatment, is a form of body work. So you really just need a body work certificate, not a whole state given massage license. So there's a lot of room, you know.
Heck, you could hook that up with a recovery coach license and you'd be good, or a recovery coach certificate, and then you would still have the education that you need, so that when they are talking, you know how to refer or do what you need to do as a recovery coach.
Absolutely.
I will put a recovery coach in a men's bathroom if I have to. That's what I'm doing. I'm putting recovery coaches everywhere. So, but let's get to your story. That's why we came on. I'd like to hear it. We've still got plenty of, we're only 14 minutes into this, so we are okay. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm just going to go ahead and open up the floor, let you tell your story. And if you don't mind, I'll probably interject here and there. I'm sure people will hear me do the oohs and ahs. I get very emotional during this stuff. I may cry. I usually do. So, all right, Jamie, the floor is yours, honey.
Okay. Well, I like to start off by saying that I refer to myself as a woman in long-term recovery.
Okay.
And what that means to me is that it has been 6.5 years since I've had to use any mood or mind-altering substances to change the way that I feel.
Yeah.
My recovery journey started in 2015. There were so many things that, you know, led up to that one day, that one point of surrender on July 20th. And I do like to say that I believe that I was born with the disease of addiction.
Okay. Yeah.
I do believe that addiction and alcoholism is a disease.
I do too.
And a disease of the brain. And I've been to many, many trainings to prove that true. I know some people like to argue on it. But for me, I can tell you that I've been dealing with trauma and trying to change the way that I feel since I was very little.
Yeah.
I grew up in an alcoholic household. My father was an alcoholic, and there was a lot of trauma growing up. I mean, my earliest memories were of, my dad being drunk and hitting my mom, my mom screaming at me, "I wish you were never born." There was just, my parents had me when they were 15, so there was like a lot of stuff, they didn't really know how to handle.
Children having children. We know, I get it.
Exactly. So, we moved around a lot. My dad was affiliated. We are from East Boston, Massachusetts.
Oh, okay.
And my father, our family's from Sicily. And my father got intertwined with some people who were, in the mob and things like that. And he got, into a little bit of criminal activity. Okay. So we moved around a lot. It was like, and big moves, not little moves. So we would move from, Massachusetts to Georgia to New Hampshire, New Hampshire to Florida. And it was very quick. It was not like you had a whole bunch of notice. It was like, oh, Dad got in trouble for putting someone in a trunk again. We got to go.
We got to get out of here. Everybody get in the trunk. We're out of here.
Right. So it was a lot. And it was like one of these things where of course, as a person with a disease of addiction, I'm your typical person. I never felt like I fit in. It was really hard for me to make friends.
Yeah.
And so with that, always feeling uncomfortable in my skin and just regular things that people with addiction struggle with. And so moving all the time, going to 12 different schools before I even got to high school was really hard for me. And then not even being able to tell anybody, because you can't tell people that.
No, you can't. That's just going to piss your parents off, and then everybody's going to get in trouble. And family's the number one thing, and you don't rat on family.
Right. So that was the big thing. So it was really hard. Within that, I found some different escapes.
Okay.
Number one, food. I had a thing with food where I would use food to change the way that I feel. I would even hide in the bathroom and eat, and then feel guilty and shameful after doing it. And constantly weighing myself. I used to starve myself at 5 years old, and I would eat like 5 M&Ms and be like, I did so good. I only ate 5 M&Ms. And another thing, in video games, constantly trying to change the way I feel, playing hours and hours. I played Nintendo. I mean, hours of Nintendo. Then I got into books, and I would read like Sweet Valley Twins was like the book. I don't know if anybody, I'm probably too old for that for everybody, but Sweet Valley Twins, Babysitter's Club.
There you go. I know them. Never read them, but I know them.
Right. And I would read them like 2-3 of them a day. And then I started writing my own stories, and I started living this fantasy, like wherever I would move to, like, okay, now I'm going to move here and I'm going to be this person. And this is going to be what I'm doing, and just totally living in this fantasy world.
Did you know when you were going through that you were in survival mode your whole child life?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not. I was just really just trying to make it. I had a smaller sister and brother, so I was the oldest. Okay. So I was always trying to keep peace, trying to protect my mother. My father was one of these alcoholics where it was like you never knew what you were coming home to. Was I going to come home to my daddy and he was going to be playing video games with me and we were going to eat snacks? Or was I going to come home and he was going to like smash the whole house to pieces and be beating my mom, Yep. So that was a lot. And, again, with all this going on, never being able to talk to anybody about it. So when I finally got to high school, I don't know what happened. I guess my dad kind of he got older, he calmed down, my mom intervened, whatever it was, we moved to New Hampshire and things settled down. And I
All
actually
right.
stayed in New Hampshire for several years. It was the first
Right
time
on.
I ever stayed somewhere for a long time. And I was, was always a really good student. Did really well. I had experimented with alcohol. I had tried to take one drink of alcohol when I was 11. I had
Okay.
a bad day at school, right? And I decided I was going to chug a glass of vodka because I'm just watching what Dad does, right? Dad
Yeah.
has a bad day. He drinks.
It works for him.
Yeah, that's what I'll do. So I chugged a glass of vodka and then ended up throwing up, and didn't do that again. Tried cigarettes at 13.
Yeah.
Tried to do all that with like my cousin, and I didn't like it at all. But when I got to high school, I finally got my first group of friends.
Mm-hmm. I'm waiting on that.
Yes, and I remember I went to a party, and this was the first time that drugs and alcohol became my solution.
Okay.
So I went to this party. I was, feeling very uncomfortable, feeling very anxious, trying to, get in where I fit in. They were drinking boons, all the colored boons, and smoking pot. And this was like 1996. And I remember all of a sudden something clicked in my brain. And
Okay.
all of a sudden I was funny and I was charming.
Yep.
And people liked me and they wanted to talk to me and they wanted to be my friend. And I was like, this is it.
Yeah.
I have found the answer to all of my problems.
And you know what's funny is what you just told yourself there was affirmations. And we can all, because we utilized affirmations. I just now saw it because I went through the same thing. Suddenly I was funny. I was all the things that I wanted to be.
Yep.
So, wow. So you can't think it. You would be hard convinced to tell me, hey, Dion, no, that's not the case at that point.
Exactly.
So, wow. Which is
Exactly.
neat how those tie.
And I finally found my group of friends, right?
Yeah.
So I finally fit in somewhere. It was such a relief, and I hung out with these people all the time, and just did the high school thing, right? We were like
Yeah.
smoking pot and doing some psychedelics here and there, like watching funny movies, eating mushrooms, like
Yeah.
just normal
Yeah.
stuff. And I wish that it could have just stayed like that because that would have been just so awesome.
Wouldn't it be? Yeah. Well, sure, heck would have.
But it just didn't stay. It didn't
No, it
stay like
didn't.
that. So my disease definitely progressed. I got into all of the stuff after that. Especially the
Okay.
uppers. Uppers were huge for me because they helped control my appetite, and I still
Okay.
had this thing with weight and trying to control my weight and not eating and all these kind of disordered eating things.
Okay.
And so the uppers were like, that was my next solution. Like, they make me skinny and then I can stay up and I can do all these things and I'm not hungry. And this is my solution now,
Mm-hmm.
Went through that, ended up getting in like a little bit of trouble here and there. I remember I got busted for shoplifting at JCPenney. Oh, this was the worst. So I go, I'm high. I'm up for like 3 days, right? And
Okay.
I'm going, me and my girl, we have this little criminal thing going on with JCPenney's where we're going and we're stealing from one JCPenney. And
Yes.
then at the time you could return to JCPenney for up to $100.
With no
we
receipt.
Steal from one, yes, with no receipt. Steal from one, drive 20 miles, return to another one. And we're doing this and we're up for 3 days. And then I don't know what happened. I guess I went in the JCPenney to steal something, came out and forgot that I just went in there and stole and tried to return it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
and, they got me. The crazy thing was that my dad was security for JCPenney down the road, so that was really bad, and he
Yeah.
was really mad about that.
I'm sure he was.
Yeah, he was really mad about that. And I think I don't even think I was 18 yet. I think I was still 17 at the time.
Wow.
But so I think I got like a suspended sentence. The judge gave me a suspended sentence.
Yeah,
over
probably wasn't. Yeah. Slap on the hand, don't do it again, or next time you're going to get in trouble.
Exactly. And but I still, I did well. I went to college and I was a cheerleader for my college. It was crazy. I don't even know how I was doing it. I was cheerleading for the basketball team and taking 10 strips of acid on the weekends. I don't even know how I managed it all. But I ended up with a degree in business science and psychology.
Okay.
And made it almost to a bachelor's degree in international business.
Wow.
But something happened. There was like a bad breakup. Anything can trigger you when you are dealing with addiction. You know what I mean? One thing happens, you got no coping skills, right? So this boyfriend, broke up with me. He broke my heart. He cheated on me, and I decided I'm going to go live with some girl in New York for a month or something, and it was terrible. It was the choices.
Yeah, and it never makes any sense. Now that I look back on it, it's like, how would that even solve that problem?
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense of the stuff we do.
Especially it's not crazy. Because I moved back and got back with him. That was like dropped out of college, screwed it all up. But anyway, I was just, I lived a party lifestyle, but I worked. Okay. I went to school. I was still at this point in my disease where things were manageable, right? Until they weren't. And that was when I got pregnant. And being pregnant, you can't really get high anymore, I mean, you can, but it's just frowned upon.
Yeah, people don't look at you too well when you're hitting the crack pipe at 8 months.
Exactly. So, ended up making a geographical change, tried to get sober. Okay. Did well my first pregnancy. I have a 17-year-old son now, and I mean, he, I was sober through the pregnancy, and everything was fine until he was about 18 months. And I thought, well, okay, I can probably just have a drink now. You know what I mean? It'll be totally fine. And it was the craziest thing. When I had that one drink, it was like I went right back to where I was before I stopped. And it just blew my mind. I didn't understand. Like, man, how am I back here getting all messed up, staying up for days, all trash,
Yeah.
Had to give my son to my mom and all of this. It was just crazy. And then I got pregnant with my daughter. She's 11 now. And when I got pregnant with her, I was addicted to pain pills.
Okay.
And that was really hard. I went through all the drugs, right? Like I went from got off crack to get on pain pills because I was like, oh, this is much more manageable, right? And got on pain pills, and then got pregnant with my daughter, and then I was in some deep shit because I was seriously physically dependent on these pills. Yeah. And I'm pregnant. And at about 7 months, I end up coming clean to my doctor that I'm addicted to these pills. She tells me that, we'll just have to put your daughter, we'll just watch her. We'll just keep her for a couple days in the NICU, and we'll watch her and we'll see, how she does. And of course, as soon as I had her, DFACS took her right away. My mom ended up getting custody of her, as well. But my mom, it was like they had it so I wasn't even allowed it in the same room unsupervised with my children. Back then, now if you have a baby and you have a problem, you can have a recovery coach, and the people in in the hospital will help you. You know, DFACS has accountability treatment court. I mean, different things nowadays. When I had my daughter, they didn't have any of that. So it was basically like a lot of shaming, a lot of judging, with me feeling
tough love.
Yes, with me feeling so guilty as it was to have a child, you know. And when I had her, she had to stay in NICU for 6 weeks.
Wow.
She was really sick. They put her on phenobarbital and morphine, and that is how they detoxed her off of the pain pills. And I was devastated. I was guilt-ridden. I was full of shame. I couldn't look anybody in the face. I just wanted to die. And that really put me in a pretty bad downward spiral. But it also took me to a point where I started to get this idea that maybe I needed help.
Yeah.
And I went to detox for the first time. I did try to do medication-assisted treatment. For me, personally, I was not successful in it because I wasn't working a program of recovery with it also. So for me, it didn't work. Every time I went to the methadone clinic, the counselor would call me in like once a week and be like, "Why are you trying to kill yourself?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, you scored 100 on your drug test again." And guess it was a good week. You know? I just wasn't ready to quit. And there was a lot of things that happened. I ended up running away and like getting married to some like crazy guy who tried to convince me that he was God. It was like so much dumb stuff that I did, you know? And it wasn't until I ended up getting in a little bit of trouble. I got arrested, schedule 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Just a little bit of everything. Just a little bit of everything. It was a typical Tuesday night, you know, no big deal. And arrested, went to jail. They put me on 4 years of first offenders probation. Okay. Basically, what that meant was that I had to pass a drug test and not get in trouble for 4 years, or I was going to go to prison. And I didn't know how to do that.
Yeah. When you brought it up, it scared the hell out of me. I could feel the fear in that when you brought it up. Yeah. It's a long time for me not to get in trouble.
Yeah.
When I'm trying to stay out of trouble, that's a long time.
Exactly. So I ended up trying to figure out 100 different ways that I could get out of this situation. And, you know, can I manage it on my own? Maybe I can quit. You know, maybe I can, if I just drink during the week, if I just use drugs when I pay for them with my own money, if I only do it after 10 o'clock, you know what I'm saying? Like trying to manipulate all of these ways that, you know, I could control this addiction. I can pass these drug tests. I can do these things. And I just knew deep down that I wasn't going to be able to do it, number one. And number two, I was sick and tired of waking up every day pissed off that I woke up.
I hear that one. Yeah, I felt that one.
You know, I was homeless at the time. I remember I was walking down the street in Gwinnett County with a garbage bag on my back because I didn't have any place to put my belongings, being homeless. I was trying to figure out who I was going to lie, cheat, steal, manipulate from for another night in the hotel room. You know, and I was really tired of having to sleep with people to stay at their house. Prostitution and sex work is a huge part of my story. That is basically how I survived and got high, got places to stay, was through that. And I was tired of giving people a piece of myself that they didn't deserve.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine who had just gotten out of prison calls me up in the beginning of July in 2015 and tells me, hey, just got out of prison. I'm going to this sober living in Athens, and I think you should come. And it was just like something clicked inside of me. And I'm walking down the street on Gwinnett County with a garbage bag on my back, and I just put the garbage bag down, and I was like, yeah, I'll go. And it was like the doors just opened from there. I found someone who was willing to help me with the entry fees to go into the sober living.
Wow.
I went in, I mean, within 3 days of being there, I had a job, which I hadn't had a job in so long. It's crazy for me to have a job. And it was like everything, you know, just opened up. The path opened up. And the crazy thing was, this is super crazy. I knew I was in the right place because when I was in jail, right before I was in jail, I had been dreaming about this place. And when I got to the sober living facility in Athens, I walked out back, and that was the place that I was dreaming about.
Love it.
And I was like, this is it. This is where I'm supposed to be. And, you know, I moved into a house with 12 girls. And it reminded me of like some kind of like sober sorority house. It was really weird. Yeah. But the coolest part about it is they were all trying to do the same thing that I was. They were all trying to do something different with their life. They were all trying to mend relationships with their family. They were all trying to get visitation with their kids. And for once in my life, I didn't feel alone.
That's it.
Yes, I had a bed that was mine. That was that I
get that. Yep. Nobody
was gonna mess with me in that bed. I had half a closet and 3 drawers in a dresser to put my stuff down. I didn't have to carry my stuff with me out anywhere. There was food in the fridge. I didn't have to worry about how am I going to eat today.
Yeah.
There was a shower, and I had shampoo and soap, and it was just everything that I needed, and it was stable and it was safe. And I remember the women's director sitting at a table across from me, and I was still kind of detoxing, like the third day.
Oh yeah.
I was still kind of messed up, and she said to me, "Do you know why you're here?" And I was like, "Not really." And she said, "You're here because somebody saw something in you that you couldn't see for yourself."
Yep.
And that has stuck with me for 6.5 years.
Wow. And
for 1 minute, she said that, I had the idea that maybe I was worth something. And maybe there was a purpose for my life. Because I was the kind of person that, I had this void of me that I tried to fill with so many different things. I tried to fill it with drugs. I tried to fill it with sex. I tried to fill it with relationships and pride and fault. And all of these things that I was searching for, trying to fill this void in, I found when I to recovery. Okay. And so I started when I came into recovery, followed suggestions. I followed suggestions. They said, okay, you need to go to meetings. So I did. They said, you need to get a sponsor. So I did. They said, you need a free day. As awkward as that was, I did. And I started working steps and doing these things, and I started speaking and sharing my experience with other people in recovery.
Yeah.
And when I had about 90 days sober, I started speaking at the crisis intervention unit out here.
Wow. Okay.
And story, and it was like seeing people's eyes light up.
Yeah.
And I finally found my purpose. Like, this is why I'm here.
Yeah.
And within 6 months of being sober, I got baptized. Faith is a huge part of my recovery, my faith and my relationship with God. So I started working step 1, step 3, I was having some trouble with. Step 3, God turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understand him. Well, God is that you are this really scary guy up there, bolts, and you send me to hell, be terrible things I've done.
Yeah.
So it was about learning and building this relationship with the God of my understanding. And, then when at 4 and 5, it was sharing all of the things inside of me with another person and trusting that they, number one, were going to tell anybody, and number 2, that they weren't going to judge me on it.
Yeah.
And
so, and I'm just going to, and I'm sorry, I need to interrupt just real quick. The sound's kind of going in and out. So turn off your camera and I'll bring the sound back up.
Turn right here.
Yeah, turn your camera off. There you go, and your sound should get a little bit better. It wasn't bad. It was just starting to go a little bit, and I didn't want it to go bad. So you sound great now.
So
yeah,
keep it off?
Yeah, you keep on. Yeah, keep it off. You're good now.
Okay. So when I did my step 4 and 5, I remember it was like 50 pounds of bricks came off of me. It was the most amazing experience. But to this step 3, of creating the relationship with the God I understand. And I remember I took my, my 4th step home. After I, shared it with my sponsor, she told me, take this home and I want you to meditate on it. And I was like, great, I already just told you everything. Now you want me to keep reading all the terrible things I've done. But I did. And, I had this very, this conversation, this very honest, rigorous conversation with the God of my understanding. I said, God, I don't even know how you feel about me. I have just totally bore everything in my whole soul and told this person the thing that I've done wrong, and I'm supposed to turn my will and my life, my thoughts and my actions to your care and trust you, but I don't even know how you feel about me.
Yeah.
And this day I had visitation daughter. So I was at my mom's house.
All right.
My daughter was sitting at 5 years old, 6 years old at the time. She had food all over her face. Her hair was a mess. She was scribbling with some crayons and, a piece of paper. And I was just looking at her like, this is the most amazing creature I've ever seen in my life. She is so amazing. I just adore her. I heard God speak to me in that moment, and he said, that is how I look at you.
Aw.
And that just really changed everything.
Yeah.
Finally.
Oh, what an epiphany to have.
Yes. And all of a sudden, that guilt and that shame that I carried from all the terrible things that I my daughter and my son and all of the, selling my body, everything, God started to heal it, and he started to speak on it. And that just made me on fire for recovery. It made me on fire for it. And I just really dove in, home group meetings, chairing meetings, service positions, and just telling people about recovery and how amazing it is and how you really can change your life with just one choice. It was that one choice that day when I was in Gwinnett County with that garbage bag on my back. It was that one moment where I said, yeah, I'll go.
Yeah. And you were even asking God at the time what you were going to do that day. Maybe you consciously weren't asking him. When I was 19, I went through a similar situation where I was walking down the street to Jesus Saves, and to get a bed for the night. Of course, it was like 5 o'clock. There was no way I was getting a bed. I didn't know that, but there was a guy in front of me, and he had a 6-pack in his hand. And I was about a block away from Jesus Saves, so I wasn't really in the best area of town. And he said, "Come on in." And I went walking in, and turned out he had a 6-pack of Pepsi. It wasn't beer. The AA symbol was on the wall, and I said, "Well, fuck, they got me again." It turns out that it was a shelter for homeless alcoholics, and I would stay there for the next year. So that's why I really enjoyed that part of your story. I could really vibe with that part of God intervening. I mean, literally intervening to change the course of my life.
Yes, divine intervention.
Thank you. Perfect.
Yeah, and I, not long after that, I decided that I would take 18 months and I was going to pour into myself and my life, because I finally the woman worth pouring. And so for 18 months, I did not date, and I did not go out and be super social. What I did is I really buckled down. And I actually got my massage license, and just worked really hard. And I were living for 3.5 years.
Wow.
Because I was terrified that I was going to screw it up. So I stayed. After about a year and a half, I had my own apartment. It was like a big property. We have this big, huge property here.
Okay.
And a men's center. So I had my own apartment, and I worked really hard, and I got in front of every single person that I could find, and I said, "Hi, I'm Jamie, and I'm a massage therapist. Let me this card." And just basically crazy marketed to everybody. Started working on all the recovery community. And that was when I started developing that protocol, and seeing how much massage can really help in recovery. Yeah. And I went and, applied a peer specialist for disease on substance abuse. And that was amazing. So now, I'm certified with them. Created the wellness room at the Divas Win Center, where women have the opportunity to free massage now from therapists and students who are learning to be massage therapists. My business is this year I won Massage Therapist of the Year for Athens. Best of the best. Wow. Of Athens. I have an amazing clientele. They all my patients know about my story. They support recovery, and I feel like every one of them was like handpicked by me to be like, and it's like whenever my patients, whenever I get one, they just stay with me, like they just so super busy, you know, going from homeless to having your own business, and then working with the, I became certified to teach recovery, also at the same treatment center that I went to.
Wow.
And now I run the board of director of that treatment center. So it is just amazing way of, you know, staying in the boat, stay very involved, and service. Service is what I call my love language in recovery. So I give love and receive love is through service, and that is how I stay sober. I've done, you know, all the steps of pathways, right? So I did AA, then I did AA, then I did Celebrate Recovery. I did a little bit of trouble. So I believe that there's a season for everything, you know. What, depending on in that season of your recovery, you know, that's what you need to do. But I believe that, you know, you never should stop working on yourself and digging deep, because like we were talking about before, that trauma and those memories can pop up at any time. So it's important not to ever like, oh, okay, now I've got 6.5 years, I have to myself anymore. What
I tell people AA and the A's are not a self-help program. They are a help yourself program. So help yourself to any of them. The only reason I go to AA more is because of the structure. That's the only reason. I'm a little bit older, so I like my structure. Plus being Virgo, I really like it. But there is certainly not one way to get sober. You know, AA isn't the only way. There's so many different paths out there. And even in the big book, it says, all right, you're done. Now go give it away. Now the work's begun. So
yes, absolutely.
I'm big on service work also. I love my service work.
Yes. And, you know, I love how you talked about multiple pathways. You know, now they have yoga 12-step recovery. They have all remedies. They have Buddha recoveries. They have everything. It's so crazy. Like, it's cool to go visit all of them. And I mean, I just, people, you know, I in recovery, they would be like, oh, it's only and that's it. And now it's like there's so many different pathways, and I just love it. Every community has open-minded itself so much to create all of these different things to help any kind of person that needs recovery. There is something for them.
Yeah. Well, and what's neat is they're not changing the steps. They're just changing the arena.
Exactly.
So they're setting, you know, there's depending on your comfort level and what you enjoy and how you like to learn is where you can go now. You're still going to do the work. So if you don't want to do the work, you might as well just not go to any of them because they're not going to do you any good. So, and you know, the one thing I don't like is when people start saying, well, this one's better than that one, or do the comparison kind of stuff. It's like, no, it's all, for me, it is the same. It's just a different arena, and that's okay.
Exactly. And you learn something. That's why I did all of them, you know, all the ones that I did, because I learned something new about myself and healed from different things, each one that I went through. And I, you know, I kind of got like addicted to doing steps, all of the different steps. It was because it worked, you know, and
it does. And it's alleviating to us.
Yes.
It's very alleviating, you know, man, too many thoughts in the head at once, so it's kind of like when you talk about success. For me, success isn't about how many followers I have. For me, as success is, did I help that one person today that I was supposed to? If I did more than that today, fantastic. But I have to be careful because I'm the same way as you, because then I don't take care of myself, and we got to watch that too with the kind of stuff we do. So make sure you take care of yourself also while you're out there kicking all that ass.
Yes, I just did a YouTube video about that. Yeah, and I created my YouTube channel, Jamie Tall. And so,
nice.
So we just actually put out one about self-care and recovery. A lot of my videos talk about self-care because me being the massage spokesperson,
sure,
I have to preach self-care, but also I have to practice what I preach.
That's it. When you are, when you're influencers and you do this stuff, you have to. What I tell people is that I lead through experience. So I just lead with my experience. So that way, it's always true, and that way I'm never stepping out of my lane. I have found over this last year that finding the right arenas to talk in the right places is always good for me. And utilizing those places too. So, gee, I've really had a great time having you on.
Me too. I love it.
And I think I'd like to get, if there's people out there, let's give out some of your stuff on how people can get in touch with you. I'm going to write it down, make sure that it gets posted. What are some, where do you prefer people to find you at? Do you prefer Facebook, YouTube?
Yeah, you can just search #Jamie Tall on all platforms.
Okay.
Yep. And then, JamieTall.com is coaching service. I also have a private recovery coaching service, so they can email me through that website.
Okay.
But
do you do just because I'm curious, you do telehealth too?
I do.
Okay. Because I'm in Colorado. If I need to send somebody to you, I need to make sure that.
Absolutely.
Well, you're nationally certified, so you can do that. Whereas I'm certified for Colorado, so I cannot. But we're all getting there, right? What we're talking about that in the beginning is that everybody kind of has their spot in it, and that's what's neat about recovery, because depending on your passion, you can find it. You can find it in the program. I think I may have lost you.
Definitely.
Okay. Yeah, I think our sound is starting to go out.
Okay.
So, well, Jamie, again, thank you very much for being on, and to the guests, our guests out there, I will post anything in case you'd like to reach out to Jamie, maybe ask her questions. If you're in Georgia, you might be able to get a massage. Be nice to Adam. So. What I'd like to take out of this is, I don't know Jamie very well, but our stories, and even though I'm male and she's female, are a lot alike about how we felt, moving around a lot, and then finally feeling at home. That's a big thing for me. So if you're out there struggling, come home, man. Come home. The heat's on. There's a warm bed. Jamie, the other thing that I appreciated you bringing up was housing first. I appreciated that. I've been homeless myself, and gosh, it is so much easier to get and stay sober when you know where you're sleeping that night.
Yes, recovery capital is huge. That's one thing that we learn in our teaching, is that the more recovery capital that a person has, a job, a place to live, clothing, a car, that actually has to do with how long they can stay sober for.
Yes, it does. Yeah. I simplified it and started calling them accountability buddies, but that's actually what that is is I'm trying to, something that holds them in. You feel responsible to someone or something else, and it'll make you change your actions because you feel responsible. All right. Well, I don't know how many times I could thank you for being on. This will be the third time. But thank you very much for being on. And then for my audience, thank you very much for being here. This is Dion with Trudging Together, Raw Recovery. Thank you. I love you all. You know I do. Peace out and have a day.